It's insidious. Got one more little thing here. Because I don't really know much about Just Pearly Things. This is 8 minutes long. Let's kind of go through some of this and see what she's got. And I think we can make this full screen. Right? Let's make that full screen. There we go. Men Are Not Interested in Modern Women by Pearl.
Perspective. Modern women find 80% of men as unattractive. And so on dating apps, which people will argue that maybe people on dating apps aren't looking for something serious, but that's the number one way people meet. Women only swipe right 5% of the time, up to 20% on the high end in certain studies.
Is that true? Is that true that that's the number one way people meet is through dating apps? Because I don't think that's true. I think that may be one of the higher ways through people meet, but people meet each other all the time. Like, I mean, is that really? I'd have to look that up to see if that's true or not, but that doesn't sound right to me that dating apps are now the number one way in which people meet. Like, whatever happened to just like going outside and like talking to people? Like, do young kids not do that anymore? Do they just not talk to people? Kids don't talk to each other. They just like, do I have to have like a fucking, email exchange with somebody first before they'll even like talk to me? It doesn't make any sense. But okay. So she's basically saying that women stroke, wait, let's just listen to that again. She said they swipe on 80% of men. Is that true?
Argue that maybe people on dating apps aren't looking for something serious, but that's the number one way people meet. Women only swipe right 5% of the time, up to 20% on the high end in certain studies.
That sounds about right. I mean, I think the reason why is because women get way more like men trying to message them than men do, right? I mean, from my own experience on dating apps, like, I actually met my wife on OkCupid. That's how we met. We met on a dating app. So, I can understand. I can believe that it may be the number one way now. But I can say, yes, that I did definitely message a lot of ladies. And it's because you got to put yourself out there. Because if you see someone that's cute and attractive, why not go for it? That is kind of the traditional way in which courtship in America is executed, right? Usually the man makes the first move. Normally, even before dating apps, that's just how it was. Say two people in a bar, normally the man is expected to make the first move and go up and talk to the girl, talk to the woman. And the woman will just the woman will make eye contact or something. And maybe do like a little bit of a flirt or a pout or something as a way of saying, hey, come on over here. And then the guy has to get his courage up and go make the first move. And that's traditionally how it is in the United States. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the world. So why would that be any different online? Why would a woman really... I mean, I don't see why a woman would really need to reach out to a guy that she likes, because there's going to be 50 dudes, like 50 thirsty dudes trying to get with her and sending her messages, so she could take her pick. That's just kind of how it's always been, especially like when you're like super attractive. Like the more attractive you are, the more dudes are going to like go after you. And I can see like if you were like a super attractive man, then maybe some women might reach out to you. I kind of doubt it though. Kind of still think even in that situation, most of the time, even if you're a super attractive guy, you would still be making the first move most of the time. I don't see how this is any different or wrong or whatever than it's traditionally been. It makes perfect sense to me that that's how it would work online. Moving on.
So women are all sleeping with the same guys. So for guys that are in that percentage, it's like they just have an abundance of girls throwing themselves at them. And then the women will come back later and say men are trash, da 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 da. But
How did that how did that translate into all the women are sleeping with the same guy? So she just went to women swipe right 5% of the time, that somehow translates into all of these women are sleeping with the same guys. How does that make any sense? I mean, are you trying to say that attractive people sleep with attractive people? Then yes, that makes perfect sense. That so most of the women are swiping right on the attractive guys, right? And so I got news for you. Most of the women that the attractive guys are sleeping with are the attractive women, right? That's how it works. Because what's wrong? Like, how is this like a big revelation for anyone that attractive people have more sex than unattractive people? How is this a big revelation to anybody? How is anybody surprised or angry at this? A better looking guy is going to have more sex with better looking women than a normal looking dude. Better, a more attractive woman will have more sex with more attractive guys than an average looking woman. How does this? Why are people so upset at that? Why are the incels so fucking crazy over this fact? So what? And that's the other thing. Like, who cares? So what? So does that mean like what? Like, you should just stop trying and just be involuntarily celibate for the rest of your fucking life? Like, I don't understand that shit either. Moving on.
But that's who
I think we need to have a speed dating thing, me and you, girl. We need to set up a speed dating or even a courting thing when we show them how to do it properly and give them questions to ask. Speed dating, but
properly. Like, how is this improper? Like, why? Like, I don't. That's what I'm not getting so far here. Is what is the objection to this? Like, okay, you need to set it. Like, I don't know who this woman is, but we need to set up a speed dating thing to show them how to do it properly. What's improper about people choosing who they want to pair up with based on their physical attractiveness? What's improper about that? Let me ask you guys a question, because I know I'm going to get some incels on here who are going to stumble on this video, who are pissed at this fact. Incels who are mad that only the attractive guys are having sex with all the attractive women. Let me ask you a question. If a very unattractive woman messaged you, would you have sex? And then a very attractive woman messaged you, which one of those are you going to choose? Let's just say, a 500-pound woman with a huge fucking, zit on the middle of her nose, and who wears, really ugly clothing, and says in her bio that she smells like cottage cheese, and she was proud of that. Hi, I'm 500 pounds, I got a huge zit, and I smell like cottage cheese, and I love it. Let's say she messaged you, and then another woman who was like a model, like a runway model, messaged you and said, and they both wanted to meet up on Saturday night. Which one of those are you going to respond to? So why is it any different for women or attractive women or any woman at all? If a dude who weighs 500 pounds and is bald and has a big ass booger hanging out his nose and has no job, on his profile there's pictures of him and just at home playing video games and shit while his mom brings him fucking chicken tendies, and he's proud of that. Huge beard, lice and shit. If he messages a woman and then another guy who's actually fit and has his own place and looks like that he actually is worth something, not just monetarily, but just, to society. If both of those people message a girl, which one of those do you think she's going to go with? Is she going to go with 500-pound basement dweller? Or is she going to go with physically fit guy who has his shit together? Which one of those is she going to go with? And then why would you be surprised at the result of that? Why is it wrong? Why do we need to set up speed dating to show them how to do it correctly? I'm not getting the I'm not getting the reason for the outrage here.
We provide the questions.
Look at you. You're helping me open wife school, right?
Yes,
we turn modern women into wives.
We need to try. We need to do it. We need to do
I know who this girl is now. Pearl here. Okay. I did a video a while ago with her interviewing, like she had this panel interview with Andrew Tate in it. I did a 2-part video where basically, because I was like bagging on Andrew Tate and shit, that's who that, and she was the host. All right, now I know who she is. Okay, moving on.
They don't want to be saved.
No, they do. I think some do.
They don't
you know what, right? I think they do.
But
I think they do.
Oh
they want to have their fun.
But stop it, Alex. Don't say that. Like, you know what?
The majority of
they don't want to be saved. I think they're talking about women and saving them by turning them into tradwives. Like, why is that considered saving somebody? I mean, the traditional tradwife thing kind of sounds like a very crappy life to me. Like, what is a tradwife anyway? Like, someone who doesn't work, stays at home, raises kids, and that's it? So, do you... Now, just think about you, yourself, whoever you are watching this. I don't know if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you work, if you don't work, if you own a business, whatever. Imagine if your life, all you did all day was chores. Cleaning this, sweeping the floor, mopping, cleaning toilets, dusting, shit like that. If that's all you did, that and picking the kids up and taking them home, and changing diapers, and then cooking every fucking day. This is what you did. You just woke up, you just cleaned everything, then you cooked dinner. And then for like 5 or 6 hours during the day, you have absolutely fucking nothing to do. So you don't work. You don't control any money. That means any money that you have has to come from your husband. So if your husband doesn't want you to own something, then you don't get the money for it. That's part of being a tradwife too. The man takes care of all the finances. The man has all the control in the relationship. And that means when he comes home and he wants to have sex, whether you feel like it or not, you got to put out. That's part of being a tradwife. Any problems that have to do with the kids, children or kids, whatever, that's you. You have to take care of that. Man doesn't bother with any of that shit. So anytime your kid has to go somewhere, anytime you have to pick your kid up, anytime your kid gets in trouble at school, anytime they need new clothes, anytime they want to talk about something or they're naughty or punishing them, whatever. I mean, I guess unless the man comes home and gets to spank them, that's the man's job. But you have to, so that's your entirety of your existence. That's what you do. I'm sure there's some women that actually like that, and that's what they want. But imagine if that was what you were expected to do. That's what society said you had to do. And if you didn't do that, you were somehow a failure. That's what it was like. That's what it was like back in the day when the traditional wife thing was the big thing. And if you didn't do it right, you were somehow... there was something wrong with you. You were like not being fulfilled as a woman. You were a failure as a mother, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now imagine that being ingrained in society to the point where you couldn't get a job if you wanted to, where you weren't allowed to have a bank account, where you weren't allowed to buy a house, you weren't allowed to buy a car. You couldn't even buy these things if you wanted. Even if you wanted to not do that, it wasn't possible. You had to have a man around to do these things. You know, my mother told me they bought a house, my mother, back in 1979. They bought a house when my parents were, together. And she said that the housing people, the loan officer, whatever, didn't talk to her at all. She didn't have to sign anything. They didn't want her opinion on anything. They didn't talk to her at all about anything whatsoever. It was all through my father, right? That's what she said. She said, I might as well not even have been there. It's like, imagine that. This is supposed to be something you're doing together that you own communally. You're both responsible for it. Both your names are on that contract, and they don't give a shit. It's like, no, they just expect the husband to make all the decisions. That's what these people are saying. This is what they want for every woman in the country. You know, the thing about feminism, folks, is that you have a choice. You can choose to do that if you want to, or you could choose not to. That's the great thing about, that's what actual feminism really means, is that you can choose there, and I'm sure there's plenty of women that would choose to live this way. But to force it on them through any kind of law or cultural, you know, acutements or whatever, that's where we have a problem. No. Moving on. Let's watch a little bit more of this. We've only watched a minute, and I've already spent 5 minutes talking about it.
Women don't want to be
what you're
saved.
saying is right. I'm not saying that is wrong, but why does it always boil down to women?
Give them a chance.
No.
Like,
Okay.
no, don't say no, because you see what Nathan said. I like you, Nathan, by the way.
I appreciate, girl.
But what made me feel like you're not scared? You're more like scared to be stuck in one because there's so many options out there. Because you keep dipping your cookie
The fuck is this woman talking about?
into the jars,
I'm
in
not
different jars of different sauces.
Thank you.
So.
But here's the reason.
So I think, the reason why you don't want to commit, I feel like the way you explained it to me, to one jar is because you're like, because you saw the other jar, you saw the other taste.
No.
You're like, it might taste.
Earlier
Let me-
on, you said
let
too
me-
many options. That's what you said.
So, they're talking about the man not committing to the woman. And if I understand what this lady's saying, it's because men don't want to commit because they have other options. Yeah, I mean, that seems normal. Why is that a bad thing also? If you're a guy and you have 3 or 4 girlfriends, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? There's nothing wrong with having multiple partners, as long as all the other women are cool with it. As long as you're honest about it and you say, hey, you're not the only woman I'm seeing. I actually have 2 other girlfriends, and this is what I'm about. And if you don't like it, then we shouldn't be together. If you want me to be like, monogamous or whatever, that as long as you're straight out and open about that at the beginning of the relationship, and if the woman is cool with it, saying, okay, yeah, I know you're seeing 3 other women, then there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's completely, it should be the other way too, shouldn't it? If a woman has 3 boyfriends, then she should be able to say to one of her guys, hey, I have 2 other boyfriends. I need to spend time with them. If you have a problem with it, then we shouldn't be dating. Absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. What do you call that? Polyamory, I think is what you call that, right? Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. 100%. As long as you're completely honest. When it gets wrong is when you start going behind people's backs and stuff. It's like, no. Cheating on people, shit like that. It's not cheating if you're open and honest from the beginning of the relationship and you define the parameters of that relationship to include this. Then it's not cheating because she knows that that's what you do, right? So why would that be a bad thing? That a man can choose the woman he wants to be with because he has options for other ones? Why is that bad? I mean, they're implying that all of this is bad and it should just be like what? How it was back in the fucking 1940s or something? Where, like, you met your, like, girlfriend at your high school prom and then you guys got married the next day and then you were together forever and that's it? Yeah, okay, that's great for some people, but for the majority of us, no. No, imagine now if you were forced to marry the first person you lost your virginity to. Not saying that you didn't, but just saying that imagine you had to marry the first person that you lost your virginity to. Imagine where you would be at now. I don't even know her last name, the woman I lost my virginity to. Like, I think it's... I can't even remember her last name. I remember the second person that I had sex with a lot. She was great. She actually went on to become... I think she's like a belly dancer now, the second girl. But the very first girl, like, I don't even fucking remember... Desi something? I don't even remember. Like, I can't even imagine... Last time I heard about her, she was like a barfly somewhere. Like, and I can't even imagine being married to that person. That would be fucking terrible. Terrible. I mean, is that what being a traditional tradwife conservative Christian actually means? That you're forced to marry the first person you got it up for? Like, fuck that. Moving on.
Yeah, too many options.
Let me explain it to you. So
too many options.
Women divorce men 70 to 80% of the time. I would argue in relationships it's probably similar. Men aren't leaving, women are. So to a guy's point of view, he's going to commit to this girl. And what does he get? He doesn't get purity anymore. You know, these hoes. You know, he doesn't get youth anymore, so he doesn't get either of those things. A lot of times she already has a kid, so he's not fulfilling his mating strategy.
That's all bullshit. What she just said, that's all bullshit. So first off, okay, the part about like women leaving men is probably true. And here's the thing about that, right? Is that back in the day, you weren't allowed to get a divorce, number one. A divorce used to be illegal. And then when it became legal, you had to have grounds for it. And there were only certain things that they would allow you to get a divorce for. Infidelity, for example. See, nowadays you can get divorced for any reason whatsoever. No fault divorce. You can just leave. Unreconcilable differences was another thing. Which basically meant you just, but if you just hated each other and you wanted a divorce, judge would just, the judge could just say no. No, not getting a divorce. People used to go to Mexico and get divorces because they would just give them to you with no questions asked. And that's the way it should be. Because you should not be forced to stay with someone for any reason whatsoever. Right? So why do so many women leave men? If this is true, if what she said is true, and I have no reason to doubt that, why do so many women leave their men then? It's because their men are not fulfilling their needs. Why? The men are either doing something that they don't like. What? Could be anything. Could be cheating. Could just be the guy's an asshole, and they don't want to stay with him. Or maybe the woman found somebody else, and the other man is fulfilling the needs like her current husband isn't. There's absolutely zero things wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. At all. You should be able to leave a relationship that you don't like for any reason. There shouldn't have to be some big earth-shattering reason why your relationship ends. Right? Oh, he cheated on me. Oh, this, oh, that, whatever. He stole from me. He was an asshole. No. You should be able to just leave. It's like, you know what, this ain't working out. You're a dick. I don't like you anymore. The end. And it should be the other way around as well. The man should be able to say, I don't like you anymore either, the end. Now, I suspect part of the reason why more women leave men is because men are afraid of the financial commitments that come with divorce. And it's just true, men make more money, right? So if they leave, then they end up having to pay alimony, they end up having to split property, stuff like that. And that's definitely true. There is a disparity there. I think the disparity is a good thing. I think until we hit the point where women actually make the same amount of money that men make on average, then we can get rid of that disparity. But at this point, it's necessary. At this point, I mean, it's true. You typically, as a man, you make more than your wife makes. And if she leaves, then she ends up getting screwed financially. And that is another thing. The reason why for that is like in the past, many women would stay in abusive relationships because of that fact. It's like, no, that's part of the whole reason why things like alimony exist, where, child support, all that is to prevent and help women to leave abusive relationships. And I'm 100% on board with that. 100%. You know how like if you're a man and you're afraid that's going to fuck you up, you know how you like get around that? Don't be an abusive asshole. There you go. Now, don't be an abusive asshole. Maybe show your wife some love, treat her with respect and like a human being, and then maybe she won't divorce you, right? Maybe don't cheat on her, shit like that, right? Don't cheat on her. Don't treat her like she's a maid. Don't treat her like her sole existence is to just pleasure you and obey your every fucking word and whim, and then maybe she won't divorce you and take half of your shit. Seems like fucking logical to me. Moving on. But yeah, this whole bullshit about, no, she's like, oh, and now they're not young anymore. That's the other thing that she just said. Let's rewind it just a little bit. Actually, no, I don't have to rewind it. Where she said, oh, the men are, the women, they're not young. They already have a baby. That's bullshit too. Okay? Like, that's like incel shit, what she just said right there. Alright? Plenty of women out there don't have children and all this other crap. It's just, that's like bullshit MRM crap that she said. It just has no fucking basis in reality. I mean, here's the thing, right? If you don't want to date a woman that has a child, then just don't date her. The end. It's not like you're being forced to. The way they make it sound like a woman comes up and she's like in her 40s with 2 kids and puts a gun to your head and forces you to fucking like go out with her. Right? It's like, no. Your personal preferences include all of this stuff. And nobody should judge you at all for your personal preferences. And if your personal preference is that your partner doesn't have children, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever as well. Right? I think personally it's short-sighted and stupid, and that you shouldn't cut yourself off from potential relationships because of something dumb like that. But that's just me. But this idea that it's like this shit that Pearl is saying here is bullshit. It's wacky fucking MRM bullshit is what she's doing.
On top of that, even if he does find a good woman that maybe has the qualities he's looking for, she was going to want him to marry her, right? And what does he get out of that? Oh, she can leave and take half and take my kids. Okay. And she's paid to take my kids away from me. She gets more money if she takes my children. Mm-hmm. And so from the men's point of view, they're just kind of like, F it, because like women aren't wives nowadays.
First off, if you don't want to get married, then just don't get married. No one is going to force you to get married. You don't have to get married for anything. If that's just not your thing, if you don't believe in it, then just don't do it. No one cares if you get married or not. That is completely 100% up to you. Now, this idea that what she said, it's like if you have the kind of assets that will really be damaged by a divorce, then you should be getting a prenup. If you really are super rich, like if you actually do have like, a house and like a significant amount of money in the bank and all this other shit that you're afraid that you're going to lose it all if a relationship doesn't work out, then you should just get a prenuptial agreement. You should be able to go to your potential wife and say, hey, listen, I'm afraid of these things. This is a concern for me. And you should say this early in the relationship. And you should say, look, if we're going to get married, then I need this agreement. And maybe I'll set aside a certain amount for you. Like, and this is what millionaires and shit do. Like Donald Trump, for example. Here you go. Perfect fucking example. Do you think Donald Trump got married to Melania without any kind of prenup? Fuck no. Of course he fucking didn't. He got married to her with an agreement that basically said, if we get divorced, you don't get shit, or you get a small amount of money, whatever. That's what it was, right? This is what rich people fucking do. So if you're rich, which is the only reason you should even care about this, is if you're even slightly better off. Normal, ordinary people don't, like, if you don't have shit, if you just have a house and a couple of cars or whatever, right, and like a typical amount of savings, you got nothing to fucking worry about all this, because if she takes half of nothing, it's still nothing. Right? So it's not like you're going to lose millions and millions of dollars, right? The other thing with the fucking alimony is not a permanent thing anymore. It used to be back in the day, sometimes it would be like these huge draconian amounts. That's not a thing that happens anymore. Okay? If you end up paying alimony at all, it ends after a couple of years. Alimony is there so basically the woman can get a job But now if you come from a 2-income household, that's not a problem anymore. If you own a house, it's like the judge can give her the house. Yeah, maybe. But you know what you can also do? You can also say, okay, well then we're going to sell the house and each take half of the proceeds. And that's a perfectly acceptable solution. There's all kinds. So it's not as cut and dry as that. It's not. There's, very few men out there have the kind of fears that this woman is saying, at least in my experience. I don't know. I think it's bullshit. Am I just wrong about that? Are there like millions of men running around afraid of getting married because they're afraid their wives are going to take half? Kind of sounds like bullshit to me. And the other thing about women are not wives. Well, what the fuck is a wife? What does a wife have duties that she's supposed to take care of? Like what? What do you want your wife to do? What? Stay home, cook, clean, raise kids? That's it? That sounds so fucking boring. And not just boring for her, but boring for you. Don't you want your wife to, like, the person that you're in a relationship with to have interests? To want to do things, to have dreams, to have hobbies, to do shit that's fun and want to, like, actually have plans for the future and stuff? Like, how fucking boring and mundane must it be for, like, the focal point of your existence is to, like, be a housewife? So all you do is just chores. Cook, clean, do the shopping. These are things that you should be doing together, by the way. Cooking and cleaning and shopping and all of that should be shared responsibilities, right? Any man who can't cook for himself is a fucking child. You're a child, right? If you don't know how to cook, if you don't clean up after yourself, if you don't fucking, like, want to go grocery shopping or whatever, if you're too embarrassed to go grocery shopping while your wife goes and buys tampons or some shit like that, if you have problems with that, if you don't know, like, if you don't want to, like, bother taking time out of your busy schedule to pick up the kids and take them to school and all that, then you're a goddamn child. And what you want is not a wife. What you want is your mom. Okay? You want your mother. That's what your mother does. Your mother cleans shit and cooks you meals and crap. Like, that's what you want in your head. You want your mother, except you can have sex with her. Well, you know what, folks? I don't want to be married to my mother. All right? It's dumb. I would rather my wife actually have interests and like to do things, and because then you have a fulfilling marriage. Whether your marriage has children in it or not, whether you do anything. No, it's like the whole point of getting married, folks. Let's turn this shit off, okay? We've already talked about this for like a fucking hour. Let's turn this fucking ridiculous shit off. Maybe we'll come back to it later on. But yeah, what's the whole point of getting married in the first place? Is it only to have kids? Is it only... No, the whole point of getting married is so that you're not alone. Right? That's why are you in a relationship to begin with? Is it for sex? No. You can just pay somebody to go give you sex, right? Is it so that someone's here to take care of you? To cook and clean and wash and shit for you? No. You can just hire someone to come do all that. Why do you even bother getting married in the first place? It's for companionship. That's the fundamental reason why you get married. The older you get, the harder it becomes to meet people, the less friends you have. And that's just shit that happens to everybody. That's just not, I saw a couple of videos and some people talking about this, like they go, a lot of the things that incels say that, after I graduated high school and left college or whatever, and now I'm in my mid-20s and I don't have any friends. Guess what, man? That's everyone. Everyone is like that to some degree or whatever. The number of people, the number of friends you have, number of relationships you have go down. I mean, and maybe if you're not, maybe if you're like LeBron James or some shit, it doesn't. Maybe if you're fucking famous or whatever, everybody wants to be your friend. Right? But in real life, that's just what happens. You meet less people as you settle into your adult life. You have less friends. And it's just a normal fucking... So why do you get married? So you won't be alone. Because you know what kills you more than smoking? What kills you more than heart disease? More than auto accidents? More than firearms? You know what kills you more than any of that shit? Being single. Right? That's what kills you. You typically, as a man, will live 5 to 8 years longer if you're married than if you're not married. Why? Because you have somebody there as a companion, looking out for you, not just taking care of you and cooking your meals for you and like doing your laundry for you, not just that, but as someone, as a companion, so you won't be lonely. And there's lots of different reasons for that. Let's zoom out a little bit here. We did some work on the sky there. There's lots of different reasons from that. Everything from your companion looks out for you, they take care of you when you're sick, shit like that, they make sure you eat right, to the fact that when you're with somebody, you take care of yourself. You're more likely to work out. You're more likely to eat healthier. You're more likely to be active. You're more likely to go to the doctor. Shit like that. All kinds of fucking reasons why. But that's ultimately why you get married. Isn't even to have children. Yeah, for some people, yes. But that shouldn't be the focus of your marriage either. If you just want to have kids, you don't need to be married to do that either. It's like, no. The main reason you get married is for companionship. So you have someone with you as you grow older and shit starts happening to you, right? And someone to spend your days and your nights with that you enjoy. That's what it's about. That's the only thing it should be about. Because you don't need any of this other shit for a marriage. You don't need children. You don't need to have sex every fucking day. You don't need any of that stuff. You can, it's not about any of that. Yes, they can be. Those are things that are involved in a marriage. Yes, it's not about any of that. Children or sex or finances or whatever. Or support. It's about loneliness and companionship. And that's what it should only be about. Fundamentally, when it comes down to it, if the person that you're spending your life with, if you don't like them, then you should be able to leave. That's, I don't know. Anybody who's against that is fucking wacky and out of their minds as far as I'm concerned. This Tradwife shit is complete fucking bullshit. And as we saw, leads easily into things like white supremacism. I think I may watch some more Pearl videos just to kind of see what's going on with her. Because I think there's, just like Nick Fuentes, I think she might have a very deep well of content can be gleaned from this woman. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.